concept of hygiene and health change. Look, I let my car smell for some time. I'll go home, or I'll put it in a plastic bag and seal it, and I'll go home and throw it in my trash. Yeah. It's nothing to do with.
So, in addition to all of what you said, trash can is 30 seconds away.
Correct.
A board like that, and a trash.
So that, see, this is not. I just give you an example of just telling you about the indiscipline that people have. So it's not something which I'm sure if I have the chance of meeting, the municipal commissioner or that, I tell him, why don't you put some placards here? But I only made an example.
Not serve the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I just made an example to tell you that how indiscipline. If you go to the municipal corporation, at every step, every landing, you have gutka marks on the wall. People spit there.
Yeah.
Right. So some guy really had a smart idea. He put pictures of gods at those locations, and it reduced. So there are things like that that one can do. It's very creative to do that.
Fear psychosis.
But think about it. I mean, how stupid. I mean, you just walk and you spit. In India, spitting is like, you just do it. You go out, spit. I mean, I don't know why. So these are things that we need to ourselves change. And
hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Mohit. Actually, I have many questions. So one is railways. How sanitation works there? Because we shit there and it's directly into the on the earth itself, and it's into the open. So, do you have any plans or?
Yeah, so we are working with the railways. We've got a biodigester license also, and we are looking at doing some innovation in that. But we've also proposed using vacuum, like you have in the West, or in the aircraft. And we are working on the lines of innovating a vacuum unit. In fact, I don't know if you read in the newspaper recently, the government has been doing some pilots with vacuum in trains. So, you know what? Things are really changing, and they will change. It will not be, I'm very hopeful. And I think this, like again said, again connected to the same thing. This Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has really encompassed a lot of sectors. Railway is a big area that they're thinking about. And the railway minister is a very dynamic gentleman, and I think
he is basically a gentleman.
Yeah.
that Thakur, please.
You can stand up.
Hello, I have two questions to you. One is, how was your initial journey? What was, did you bootstrap, and how was your investment? That's one. And secondly, who exactly is your customer? Your consumer is someone else, right? I mean, they are not paying you. Who's your customer?
So my customers are actually quite varied. Ranges from government, semi-government, to construction companies, municipalities, oil and gas companies, corporates. So the whole hog. But in all these cases, the user is always, by and large, is the person who is on the bottom of the pyramid, is the unserved person. So although my customers may be really a different lot of people, but the user is always predominantly the same. Your second question is,
how did you bootstrap? And
so,
what was the investment?
Very honestly, all these management jargon of bootstrap and all that, I probably came a little before that. And when I started my business, I think initially it was my dad, my family, that actually gave me the maximum support. A, I lived with them, correct? And B, that in India we have this thing that many of the times when you're starting any business, you want to involve a family member. So my father was a partner in my company when I started, and that was a big support system for me. Although maybe on a day-to-day basis, I never had any. My dad never knew anything about sanitation. He was in the army, and then he was a expert in land development and infrastructure. Didn't know really much about sanitation services, but that support service that I had at home, at my house, and the broad upbringing that I had, that really talking about shit or talking about broad subjects like which were not normally discussed on a dining table at that point of time in many areas, was quite cool in my house. So the initial capital more than that was really the drive. And luckily for me, I had a German friend who I got 2 toilets from for free.
Okay.
And I used those 2 toilets. I took them around for road shows. I really used a lot of his marketing material to talk to people. And eventually I landed up selling those 2. Took that money, bought another 8 more toilets with that money. And then I actually really increased it that way. And like I said, that the rest is history. But I did start with very, very less capital. I think my company started with 5,000 rupees of capital as a partnership company.
So we'll have one last question.
Hi, I'm Santosh. So you started your company in 1999-2000, and then you talked about little struggle to get the fundings from the banks. Then we simply jumped to the 2000 where your company is 175 crore, right? So we'd like to understand like how was your journey, how was the struggle, or whether it was quite easy to grow.
No, it was not easy to grow, but it's pretty much natural progression. And when we started in '99, we were a small partnership company and very little revenue. It's also, see, you have to always, this forum over here is basically to expose all young entrepreneurs, or let's say people who are interested in setting up businesses or scaling them. And I had a similar learning pad, just that my learning pad was not here. I had the opportunity of having a lot of friends in the United States, and I would go very often, maybe twice every year to the US to really see what was happening there. Because that was the only place I did believe that my benchmark could be India, because there was no other company doing this. And had there been a company working in the sanitation space, it was not up to the level that I wanted to provide service for. So I always made the US my learning pad, and that was my training and development cost, let's say. And I kept learning and going back to see what people did over there. Subsequent to that, I think I invested in a few things which I can probably even tell you right now, is that we tend to spend a lot of time on the internet, doing research and Google and this and that. The best thing to really do is that look at a company that is doing a similar kind of activity that you want to do. Write to them, maybe they're in India, maybe they're in the West, wherever, and write to them and ask them whether they would like to host you, or if you can go and visit them and see what they do, and just to get an academic understanding of what they do. Because that learning that you get of really seeing something firsthand is remarkable. I was lucky that these friends of mine in the US allowed me to come and spend time in their companies to really see how their businesses work. And that was my biggest learning. And trust me, every year I go to the US. And in fact, I was there's this big organization that regulates sanitation policy and standards in the United States. I was the first Indian to be on the board of that organization because of the kind of integrity or the kind of determination I had to learn and bring back to our country and employ those standards here in India. They actually voted me on the board of that organization. So for me, that has been the largest learning process. And the learning never stops.
Yes.
And to answer your question really to the point, is that from the time we started and until now, it has been a progressive focus, progressive growth on improving your products, improving your services, bettering your systems, getting better people all the time. So a person, which you hire today at maybe 20,000 rupees salary may not be useful for you 3 years down the line. You have to look at hiring somebody who will give you, probably need a guy who you have to pay 70,000 rupees or maybe a lakh of rupees a month. So your requirements keep changing. So you have to be alert to the dynamics of change. You have to keep changing your strategy regularly. Not that, okay, now I have this, now I have to do this for the next 10 years. You keep reviewing what you do, you keep changing it, that's the way to grow.
So, I have one more question. Two questions actually. Since you deal in the social sector, how much importance would you give patience as an entrepreneur, generally as an entrepreneur, as well as the social sector especially? How much weight would you give patience? Do you have infinite patience to wait for a payment, to wait for something to happen? And the other question, you've been mentioning Swachh Bharat has helped business a lot. So how much does government regulation play a part in your business strategy? And if such Swachh Bharat wasn't around, what would have happened? Would you have gone on a non-exponential organic growth rate, or what would have happened?
Okay, so the first question is patience. I think patience is a virtue, and we all need to have patience. I won't say that I'm a very patient person in my office. So when it comes to day-to-day work, really. But in general, I think overall, and in my personality, I'm quite patient. I'm not really very haphazard about, or let's say impatient. I might seem very aggressive at times, but actually in terms of I'm quite patient. So patience is important. You need to be patient. But that doesn't mean that patience for payment is not patience. You see, you have to realize one thing, that your money must come in time. That's not that's not showing your, you have to be impatient if your money does, something is wrong with you if a customer doesn't pay you for 200 days and then you're very calm and cool, you will get a,